Hi, everybody. Welcome to Comic Spot interview number Who Cares? This is Linda Marcus Smith, your gal, doing another great legend in the biz, as we say. And today's guest is over there in the other square. He's the one without the blonde hair. Jim Kellner. Wave at everybody. Jim,
Hey, everybody.
I'm going to read you his, calls it a short bio. Here we go. Jim Kellner is a comedy stage hypnotist, TEDx speaker, hypnotherapist, and author with nearly 3 decades of experience captivating audiences and transforming lives, you guys. Come on, give it up for him right there at home in your jammies. Known for his hilarious and engaging performances, Jim has entertained and empowered thousands through his comedy hypnosis shows, keynote speeches, and hypnotherapy sessions, which we have to hear all about. As the author of Your Life Sucks, Here's How to Fix It, Jim combines humor and actionable insights to inspire personal growth. His viral YouTube video, Kids Meet a Hypnotist, with over 3 million views, and his innovative Hypnosis Hero, which is trademarked app, and podcast have further cemented his reputation as a leader in the field. Jim is also the co-founder of the Pacific Northwest Hypnosis Conference and Performing Hypnosis Summit, continually elevating the art of science and hypnosis. Let's get to know him right now, you guys. Bring him on with a big round of applause. Jim Kellners.
Hey,
Hey,
everybody.
Jim.
Thanks a lot, Linda, for having me on.
Yes, let's get right to it. Like we never did this before in our lives. We just went through it and didn't have the record button on. Jim, tell people all about your life from go into like a little bit of growing up so they know who you were as a kid in college, that kind of thing, and then into your performing, if you would, please.
Absolutely. A lot of times people will think that performers, especially comedians or stage hypnotists, they'll think that you're the class clown. And I was never the class clown. I was a kid that sat in the back and didn't say anything. I was terrified. I didn't even speak. I didn't even want to speak to people one-on-one, let alone groups. Or I did want to. I just couldn't. It was so scary for me. And so I'm an unlikely performer, people would might think, but there's actually a lot of us that are actually shy and introverted and that kind of a thing that kind of find performing, for some reason we love the punishment that we go through.
Yes, I can relate to that, even though I'm not shy, never have been shy. But I love the fact, sometimes we misread you. People who are shy, you get misread, misdiagnosed, if you will,
Yep.
without a license. You get considered to be stuck up,
Yeah.
but it's shyness. And sometimes you get misread that you're not the same off stage as you are on stage. So how have you dealt with that paradigm?
Well, yeah, that's funny. There was actually I've had this experience where I think because of like low self-esteem, introversion, all this stuff, I used to have this thing where I would think people probably wouldn't remember me. And so when I would go to, so I would go, if I saw somebody somewhere, like I would assume they're not going to remember who I am. And I hate that awkward thing when they're like, oh, who are you again? So like I wouldn't say anything to them. And then, of course, then they think that I'm being non-approachable, like maybe I don't like them or something. And so then they don't like me because I think I don't like them. In my book, I actually wrote, I don't know if you know Tommy Savitt.
Yes, I
Love
love him.
love Tommy. So Tommy was performing.
Tommy Llama.
Tommy Lama, yes. I used to watch him back when he was playing a different type of a character comedy, and to see him become, I saw the transition is super funny. But he was performing at Laughs Comedy Club one time, and the very first time I did a paid gig and I emceed a show, it was Sam Damaris and Tommy Savitt. So, so I'm walking into the club, and he's sitting there. And I want to, I'm like, what if he doesn't remember me? So I kind of walk past him, like kind of ignoring him. And he goes, "Hey, Jim." And I felt so stupid. I was just like, Tommy, how you doing? Because again, it makes it look like, maybe I'm snubbing him, maybe I'm stuck up or something, which wasn't the case. And it happens all the time. Um, so you're right. Boy, it's being shy and introverted is a really tough gig. I recommend everybody get over it.
So growing up, you were shy in school, grade
Oh,
school, high school, college.
yeah. In fact, I even developed a problem with alcohol in high school because I couldn't talk to girls. I couldn't talk to them unless I was drunk, unless I was drinking. So, and then the problem is that when you're drunk, most girls don't want to talk to you because you're really stupid. Um, and so finally, when I was about 27, I said, I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to break free of this. And the scariest thing I could think of was acting classes. And so that's what I did. I started taking acting classes, and it still took a long time. I ended up having to use hypnosis and hypnotherapy to really address the shyness. And I'm still introverted, but I'm able to fake extroversion.
That's so cool. I like that. I like that. Because you can fake it till you make it.
Exactly. That's what I tell people, just act as if, act like whatever it is you want to be. You can just act like it. And I realized that when I was when I was doing more acting, I still do a lot of murder mysteries. And I was doing this murder mystery, and I had to play this character who was like a womanizer type kind of a guy, kind of a smooth, like his name was Marvelous Marv. And so this is so embarrassing, but I didn't even know how to flirt with women. I didn't know how. I couldn't do it. I even literally took a class at the community college near me, how to flirt, and I still didn't know how to do it. But I watched this other guy play this character really well, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna fake it and I'm gonna pretend. And I just took all every movie I've seen, every TV show, and then this guy's character, and I was just like, how you doing? Yeah, how you doing there? I was just, wow, you look great tonight. You'd look even better on my arm over here, this kind of thing. And and it was so easy once I started acting like it. And then I realized, wow, if I can do that, at the show, why can't I do that in real life? And so I would literally just do that. I would go on a date and I would just act a toned down version, I wasn't, but and it just became so much easier. And I was able to break through a lot of the shyness. I mean, it's still kind of my default. I mean, I'm more inclined, like if I walk into a room, if I don't hype myself up first, I'm probably going to be kind of a wallflower. But I have to remind myself, oh yeah, stand up, act like you're confident, act like you're happy to be there, and it helps a lot.
Yes. Okay, I have a struggle that I worked through. Maybe it could help somebody hearing about it. But when I got up, I don't have a fear of going on stage. I should, but I don't.
Yeah.
And like, but my the fear when I'm up there was looking people in the eye because I was
Mm,
afraid with my brain injury, I was afraid if I connected with their eyeballs, I would forget what I'm talking about. So
mm,
I was avoiding eye contact, not connecting with people.
yeah.
So I stayed at home and I practiced saying my set to inanimate objects, like
Oh,
bop, 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 set up. Now there's the punchline. Now there's a setup punchline, whatever. And so then I just was practicing get staring right at that lamp. It was so hard at first to stare at a lamp or to
yeah.
stare at the door. And then once I mastered staring at it right at and saying my lines and staring at something, I could do it on stage. I don't even know if it makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah. So okay, so we lost track of where we were with the conversation because I interrupted back to you.
No problem. No, that's great. I love that. That's a great way, innovative way to come to find a solution.
Yeah. So you've hypnotized yourself and you've hypnotized others. I'm assuming you've hypnotized yourself in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so when I started, I got trained in hypnotherapy back in, what was it? I think 2000, but I didn't start practicing until about 2000, maybe 12, 14.
Wow.
I just couldn't, I wasn't sure if it was legit because um, when we worked with each other, the students, we work with each other and try to make me quit or help me to quit smoking didn't work, let me to lose weight didn't work. Um, what I realize now is that, well, they weren't professionals. They were students, and there's a big difference, really. Um, and that's one of the things too. It's funny because people will message me and they'll go, "Hey, I got hypnotized a while back and it didn't work. Why do you think that is?" And I'm like, there's a myriad of reasons why. And I mean, some of it is, a lot of times I'll say, well, what was the experience like? And they'll say something like, well, my uncle's friend was learning hypnosis or he was reading a book I'm like, yeah, go to a professional and find out if it's really going to work for you. Um, but I just wasn't, and the other part that I didn't realize was that it took repetition. It wasn't just a one and done type of a thing. And finally, when I was really at the end of my rope. I was working a job 16 hours a week doing props, and I hate doing props. If I'm going to do stage work, I want to be in the front. I want to be on stage, because even though I'm scared as hell, I want the attention. And um, so I was almost, I was right around 100. I was actually about 100 pounds overweight. Yeah, I was about 100 pounds overweight. Um, I mean, my life just sucked, and I finally said, well, I got to change this. And I started listening to hypnosis regularly. I started listening to Paul McKenna actually recordings at first, and he's a pretty famous hypnotherapist, hypnotist. And I mean, as I kept listening, the other thing is I kept putting things off. I'd like, well, I'll eat better tomorrow, I'll meditate tomorrow. Meditation was always something I wanted. And then I finally decided I made a checklist for myself. And so every day I would meditate for 2 minutes, walk for 5 minutes, and eat one extra fruit or vegetable. And it just started happening for me, and I started going, wow. And then so I started making my own recordings because it was more geared towards exactly what I needed help with. And Linda, the craziest thing was, I after a few months of this, I'd lost 20, 30 pounds. It was going great. And I said, you know what? If I can do this for myself, I can help other people. And so I said, I wrote down this goal, in 6 months, I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm working as a hypnotherapist. And by God, 6 months later, I was. It was crazy. I got hired by a clinic, and I spent 2 years in that clinic just seeing, I mean, I saw hundreds of clients there.
So, so let's go back to TED Talks. You
Yeah.
did. I want to hear about your TED Talk.
It was interesting because I got this again, so I got this email and it's, we'd like to invite you to, to this TEDx. And I'm like, yeah, right. It must be a scam. And so I ignored it, because, usually you have to apply for TEDx talk, right? And I'm like, I didn't apply to this. So yeah, it's some kind of scam. Plus it was from a Gmail address. And I'm like, well, this is pretty unprofessional. So I think it sat in my inbox for about a week, and I was scrolling through, and I go, you know what? Let me just play with these guys and see what's up. And I write them back, and I go, how much is this going to cost me? And she wrote back and said, it's not going to cost anything. This is the TED organization. You can't, we don't you don't make money. You don't have to pay money. And I was like, oh, hold on. Well, it turns out that she just hadn't they it was their I think it was their first TEDx at Grand Canyon University, so they didn't have their email addresses set up yet, so they didn't have the TEDx email, and they this is a good example why you should have a good marketing, good website. She said that somebody had recommend they wanted to have a hypnotist, and somebody had recommended somebody that had been around for a long time here in the Phoenix area. I'm here. I'm actually, this is why my setup doesn't look great because I'm on the road this week down in Arizona. But she said they somebody had recommended a hypnotist that was kind of a legend here in the area, and she went to their website and it sucked. And she said, "Wow, this isn't a good reflection. They're probably not very good." And so she searched around and found my website, and that's how I got my TEDx talk.
Wow, that is a great lesson for people with a less than average score on their website. It's very
It
important.
matters. Yeah.
What was that like doing a TEDx?
It was scary. It was because there's a whole lot of pressure. And Boy, I wish I would have rehearsed more and tried to get it in under 16 minutes because you have 18. I was and this is a great lesson for all of us. When you're given 20 minutes, um, or you're given 30 minutes, be able to wrap up in 28 minutes, right? Always have a little bit to spare because I had timed it for 18 minutes and I should have done 16 because I ended up going over, which wasn't terrible, but it's not great. Um, so I'd like to have rehearsed. It's so funny because I mean, I've gotten some, for people that know what a TEDx is, they're pretty impressed, but there's still a lot of people out there that don't realize what that is. So like I just did a show for a guy who was incredibly impressed that I had done a TEDx. I mean, I'm one of only I think at the last I counted maybe 4 or 5 hypnotists that have done a TEDx talk. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, amazing experience. I mean, really, just surrounded by awesome people, and um, uh, I mean, to be able to have said that I did that is pretty incredible.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's talk about your books. You have a few.
Absolutely. Oh, one other thing, I just want to circle back
Yes,
because
you jump around. I can jump around with the best of them. Trust
because
me.
one of the things that's funny is people will comment on that every once in a while. I go back and I look at the TEDx and see all the comments because and there'll be people that'll say like oh, this is BS, and all this, and one of the problems is that people have this idea that hypnosis is just is like fortune telling or tarot cards or something like that, but it's been incredibly well researched. There's something like 50,000 articles on the internet that support it, and been researched by major universities, Stanford, Harvard, all these places. But people still think it's BS, and that's why I titled it "If You Can't Be Hypnotized, You Lose," because I want them to know you're missing out by not trying it. But the funny thing is, I was thinking about this the other day. My TEDx almost got canceled
What?
because I submitted my script, and the guy who was organizing it, the president of the organization here in Phoenix, called me up and says, Jim, they're gonna drop your talk. And I go, what? And he said that the TED people, the main TED hub, said that they were concerned that it was just full of pseudoscience, the stuff that I was quoting. And I know these are all facts. This is all from research. And he said, well, we need to have somebody with a doctorate level education verify that the information is correct. So I found a someone who had a doctorate in nursing, something like that, went through, checked all the research, signed off on it. So people that think it's just BS, they don't understand that it was actually fact checked by someone with a doctorate level and then by the TED people themselves. So everything you share on TED has to be verifiable, and
Wow.
that's what it was. And so I just kind of chuckle when they say like it's BS. I'm like, you're the one missing out, not me. I don't really care if you think it's true or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So where do you go from here? I want to hear about your books. That's definite. I want to hear about the legacy you're leaving too before you leave. Tell me about every book you've ever written in your life.
Well, I've only written two. I co-authored one back in 2015 with a colleague of mine called Navigating Success. And it's a pretty short book. We put it together kind of quickly, and it was mostly something. What I wanted to do was be able to hand people, clients, this book and say, this is something you could read that's going to help you because one of the things like Goldilocks, like this one client I worked with who was, things were too hot, too cold, all this, be able to hand them this book and so they can read and go, oh, okay, I get this. Um, but we didn't have it professionally edited. And really it was really awful. So we pulled it and we were going to re-release it. And then when I released my new book, I went back and looked and I realized it had been like 10 years and we still hadn't re-released it. So I'm having it re-edited and it'll be released again in the spring, I think. And it's like personal development type stuff, things that'll help people do better in life. And then this one here is my baby right now. This is the um, Your Life Sucks. Here's how to fix it. And it's really your life. It's got a question mark. It's got Your Life Sucks or slash exclamation point. So it could be either one. You take it, you read it the way you want. And the way people normally read it when they see it, they go, my life doesn't suck. And I'm like, it doesn't say that. It says there's two options there. Um, so this book is, if your life sucks, then you definitely want it. But if you just want kind of a way of improving your life and you want to, and it's written by somebody who's kind of funny. So it's not too serious.
Absolutely. I think you're very funny.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So the book is out in the market
Yes.
and people can buy it on every platform that where books are found. Is
Everywhere
that
books are found, Amazon and all the other places. Sure. Yeah.
so? Okay. And is your TED Talk still out there for people to watch for you to get remunerated for that?
Yes. It's and they can go to jimkellnerhypnotist.com/TEDx and they can watch it. And I really do I think I do a pretty good job of explaining what hypnosis is, what it isn't, and help them understand that, my big message is you're really missing out. This is an incredibly powerful, like you've experienced, that you're really just missing out on. Like I've changed my life. I've helped other people. I mean, thousands of people have changed their life. And these people that are just like, oh, that doesn't work, that's BS and stuff. You really are. You're just missing out. And I don't understand why they're not. It doesn't even, some people will say, well, I don't believe in hypnosis. Well, that's like saying I don't believe in gravity. You're still going to fall down. It's just a scientific process. It's not something you have to go, oh, mighty hypnosis, help me. It really is a scientific process. Now, one of the problems, Linda, is that we use it for the comedy stuff. And so people get this idea that maybe it's not as legitimate, but I think of it like any kind of a tool, like a fork. I can scoop my mashed potatoes up, or I can spear my steak. It's got multiple uses. That same instrument.
I love that. So talk to me about comedy with hypnosis. I've seen it done, like we talked about Michael the
The shallot,
Shallot,
yeah,
the Shallot,
like the shallot.
and I've seen people attempt to be funny while they're doing hypnosis, or be funny doing hypnosis, and you're melding two different things at the same time, which I probably can't do. Like I'm a one track mind kind of gal, but kudos on being able to actually accomplish two things with an audience. First of all, one's very serious, and you're using two parts of your brain.
Yeah, yeah,
So talk about the ability to, I mean, that isn't easy to do. Those two, I don't take anything for granted with a brain injury, and I see it for the complexity. So, like, have you ever noticed that like it's for me to get up and sling jokes, no problem. But you're
yeah,
slinging jokes while you're being responsible for people's psyche and level of aware.
yeah.
I mean, how do you do that?
The great thing about the great thing I love about doing hypnosis is I get to use both parts. I can help people, and I can make them laugh, which you can in comedy too, obviously. But I'll quick story about that later if we have time. But uh,
Sure.
it's I don't know. It just sort of you use that one part and you try to make that the hypnosis part as funny as you're able to while still getting the good results. Um, but it's just sort of melding the two and making something entertaining. And here's the thing, not all comedy hypnotists are funny, and not all comedy hypnosis shows are funny. Unfortunately, this is one of the reasons that I'm really invested in like the Performing Hypnosis Summit, is to help the education on how to do a good show. Because I've seen some. In fact, one of the reasons I started doing shows is I saw somebody do just a terrible show. It was they were doing the skits, but it wasn't funny. And I was like, oh no. So it's using, telling your jokes, getting some laughs, getting some rapport like you do in stand up, and then using that scientific process to help people to go into that state. And then once they're in that state of hypnosis, everybody's results, they're different. For instance, some people, when they're up on stage in that kind of state, I can make somebody think they're Taylor Swift. Not everyone's going to think they're Taylor Swift, but some people will. Most people can get something we call finger magnets, where their fingers will come together. Most people we can, suggest hot or cold, and they will experience that. it's a really interesting thing, and it's the scariest thing that I do. Stand-up comedy for me was scary, but not as scary. But hypnosis, in a way, is the comedy hypnosis is a little bit easier because I don't have to be writing jokes all the time because I'm just making other people be funny.
I love that. All righty. Well, tell me what you were going to say a minute ago. If we have time, we have time.
Oh, one of the things is because I had this idea, like because I'm kind of this, I have these two parts to me. I want to be kind of philosophical and help people, and the other part just wants to be funny. And I remember I was doing a comedy show with Susan Jones. Do you know Susan? She's in Vegas now.
Cupcake, Susan
Yeah,
Cupcake.
I love Susan. And I kind of tagged around with her a lot when I started doing stand up, and we did a show. I emceed a show, and afterwards we're all sitting in the back, and this woman came up to Susan, and Susan just kills every single time. She's just hilarious. If you haven't seen her, go see her. She's just hilarious. Susan Cupcake Jones. Um, this woman came up to her and she said, I have to tell you, my sister died 6 months ago. I haven't laughed since until tonight. She goes, thank you. And I was like, wow, that right there is the healing power of humor, right? She finally got to break through and experience a little bit of laughter, fun, joy, that kind of a thing.
Yes, that's fabulous. Oh my goodness sakes. So, I started doing comedy for I was doing comedy for a few months in Southern California when I started in 2014. And I never thought, Jim, even though I'm a vet, I never thought about doing comedy for veterans.
Mm,
But one day, this guy must have been 80, 85 years old. He was in his Marine dress blues and he could still fit in them. And he came up to me and he goes, "You're the girl doing comedy." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I'm really sad. Maybe you can help me with this."
mm,
And I said, "Okay." He said, "I'm depressed because I'm losing my eyesight." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because my retina's become detached and I feel like a freak and makes me depressed." And I'm thinking to myself, "Thanks a lot, pal. You just depressed me."
right.
So I said, um, "How would you like it if, since I'm a new comic, if I go in the bathroom and I don't come out until I have a way for you to tell that story, but in a funny way, so you start thinking of it more of
Mm,
a funny way instead of depressing yourself more and depressing others, right?"
right.
And my it just landed in my lap from the heavens, right? The
Yeah.
whole So I go in the bathroom, I'm sitting there like the thinker, and like, I'm not leaving. I don't care who's knocking on the door. I'm not coming out. I got to do this. I came out and I said, "Okay, I got it. I got it." So this is the silly joke. I said, life sucks. And the older we get, more problems. My life's become so ridiculously depressing that even my retina has become a little detached. And that's what started me with the power of, in my own little way, transforming the outlook veterans have on their own trauma.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's interesting. That's actually a technique that we would use in hypnotherapy. It's called reframing. You look at something from a different angle, um, and that's exactly something that we might do. How can we see this in a different way? I know it's troubling, but a more empowering way.
Yes. I hope before I kick the bucket, when I at some point I'm going to get old, and when I kick the bucket, I hope that I have told enough people to go do this because I can't reach everybody, but I think it has a lot of power to, like veterans. Well, when we're depressed, we start looking at things
Right.
negatively, and we get spiral, and then nobody wants to be around us because we're doing that. And I think it can save lives.
Oh, I agree completely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my phone decided to ring right in the middle of the interview, but we are still connected. Good. Well, so tell everybody where they can sign up for your individual or group or whatever you have going with hypnosis, hypnotherapy, where they can get your book again. and where they can see you in live doing, hypnosis and comedy at the same time.
Head over to my website, Jim Kellner, hypnotist.com, Jimkellner, hypnotist.com. That's really you'll find all my social connections, where to get the book, and I've got my event. I don't keep the event calendar updated as much as I should. I don't do as many I don't do that many public shows anymore. I do more corporate because frankly pays better. So as you know, um,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I love doing the public. I just did a public show here in Arizona, and they're so much fun. But I mean, really, I can make 2 or 3 times as much doing a corporate, and plus I don't have to do any marketing for it. If it's a corporate show, whereas if I'm doing a public show, I got to be on Facebook and all my socials and emailing saying, hey, come see the show. So it's more work and less money. So unfortunately, I don't do that. But I do my Hypnosis Hero podcast, and you can find about that on my podcast on my page too. And that's where I bring in other hypnotists, and we talk about hypnosis, and they do live hypnosis like through the screen. So if somebody wants to try it live, we do that 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. 5 p.m. Pacific time. Yes. Yeah, Mondays. That's what I'm missing. Mondays.
Super. I want to tune into that.
Sure. And
So
get the book. It'll change your life. It really will.
all right.
There's so many great things in here. And this is based on like about 9 things that I saw that really I had struggled with. And I see the most common things getting in the way of success with my clients. And so I've broken it down. And again, it's not one of these deep, heavy books. It's very lighthearted, but it gets the message across. And if you will, you just go through and do these simple exercises, just write down some thoughts and these things. It really can make a huge difference. It really has transformed my life. Hypnosis I'm just so grateful to it. I don't know, I can't even imagine where I'd be without it.
Super. Can you take somebody who's like, I used to be the biggest Debbie Downer.
Mm.
Remember that skit on SNL?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like if you said, like I had a rough week, I could top you. And that's
Yeah.
all I ever did is top people with negative information. Can you take somebody that still slips a little every once in a while, lets a little air out of the balloon of that negativity still is there, that lagging last bit of negativity?
Absolutely. Yeah, we can absolutely help with that. One of the things too is back to reframing again. If we think about these, there's almost always some kind of a positive that comes out of things. When my mom passed away, it was like, well, I'm grateful she's not suffering anymore. Um, I
Yes.
was I was teaching a class one time on reframing, helping to see the kind of the silver lining in things. And this isn't like some kind of Pollyanna, we're always just going to pretend things are great. You don't have to do that. If you really look hard, you'll find it. And I remember this, we're talking about how to reframe things, taking negatives and turning them and finding the positive. And this guy raised his hand. He goes, you are right on. He goes, he worked for Boeing up in Seattle. He said, I got laid off, and I was really bummed out about it. I was really having a bad time. And he goes, so I went and I met with my accountant and my financial advisor. Turns out, um, I was able to retire because I had enough money in my accounts that I could just retire. I didn't have to stress about it anymore. I didn't have to worry about if I was going back to work. He goes, my life has been awesome ever since then. So, we think things are awful, but so often we can find some good in it.
So if we just look for the silver lining,
Yep.
a lot of times when we get something thrown, well, I got a call from somebody today, I won't say who, and I bought round trip airline tickets with this person who's a relative, and the person got scammed out of money. But
Oh,
there's got to be a silver lining in it, right? No matter what you're going through.
yeah.
If nothing else, you're going to come up with a new joke or bit.
Well, and you see that's that is the best point because when you start doing comedy, you never have a bad experience again. You only have a joke writing opportunity. So great idea. Linda, if everybody would just start thinking like a comic, like you know how our minds kind of work, like how can I make this funny? Anything that happens, it's like, oh, how is that funny? It could be really transformative for people.
Yes, it can. It can for sure. Well, you've been an absolute dream to have on. I enjoy everything that you're out there doing. I will pick up the book on the first. I commit to that. You'll see Linda Marcus Smith as a sale somewhere in the universe. It'll happen. I'll put on my calendar. I'm going to share this everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Twitter, which is now my X, evidently.
Yep.
I'm getting confused. It's going to be out there, and I'll even make a couple clips so that maybe something can have a chance to go viral, a short, funny sound bite. And I've had a dream of a time being with you, Jim. You're just delightful, and I'm so glad you are doing transformative types of comedy and using hypnosis and hypnotherapy to change lives. It's my honor to have spent time with you. And it
Such
died.
an important thing, and keep, reminding people to look at the positive, right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll talk later. And we got some catching up to do because I raised my daughter in the Seattle area.
All right.
Okay, see you later, Jim.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.